Mark, first and foremost, looking back to last weekend and the trip to Fleetwood, obviously a huge frustration for everyone, given the preparation you would have put in the build-up to the game.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest frustration is for people that made the trip or were making the trip, because a week before Christmas and the expense that brings is super frustrating. Especially the fact that it was a little bit late that the game got called and it was a bit delayed. For us, giving it the extra hour and a half when we're there is sort of sensible. The sun was out in the morning. There was hope that they may be able to thaw out the remaining areas of the pitch, but truth was it was bone hard in too many areas and was dangerous. So there was never a chance once we went back at 12 o'clock that it was going to be on. So I think frustrating for us that we're driving back on the bus Saturday afternoon. It's been a wasted 2 days and a long 2 days. I guess the only thing is our week last week was absolute toilet, to be honest, because we had no pitch to play on all week. We hadn't been on the grass since the Plymouth game, so our preparation going into the game was hopeless. So we did what we could, made the best of a bad situation, and I'm sure the players were like bang up for playing, because when you get there and you're ready to the game, that this lot adjust quite well to all those challenges. So, but from my side, I wasn't devastated, because I'm sure that we can hopefully go and play that game when we're in a little bit better condition and shape than we were off the back of the week that we had. Having said that, it's probably one of the worst ones you could have cancelled on a weekend to then have to do midweek. So it is what it is. We say that often here. It is what it is. We get on with it and hope that it wasn't too painful for too many. We did bump into the supporters coach at Corley Services on the way home, so that was interesting. Have a chat with a few of them. Everyone frustrated, but yeah, we roll on. This week's been a lot better.
Good. I mean, obviously, it's a difficult one for a postponement, especially when it's weather related. Do you think Fleetwood did everything they could? Do you think they could have done more in terms of communication to all, including the supporters perhaps on the day? I
mean, they did everything they could in terms of the pitch being covered. I think the one thing that's caught everybody out in the last sort of 7 days was that the forecast in some respects was right, but it was actually worse than the forecast quite often. I mean, I'd never known it. We were -10 here at times last week, and up there, it was meant to be 6 or 7 degrees and the sun was shining on Saturday, and it really wasn't. It was 1 degree at best, and it felt like -3. So I think the only thing you can go off really is the forecast. They did that. They communicated as early as they could on the Saturday morning. We had a look at 10 o'clock. We had another look at 12 o'clock, and it just became unplayable. So maybe you could say that when the weather's like it is, you could make the early shout when lots of games have dropped. But they were quite confident that they could get it on. They had ground staff there all night, overnight, moving lamps over the pitches and things. So they did do everything they could, but the weather caught us out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess the other disappointment is you went into that off the back of a real spike in confidence after the home draw with Plymouth, a game in which you were probably the better side and probably disappointed not to win, Mark.
Yeah, we certainly had moments where we could have done. We played really well. I mean, the good thing is that sort of run of confidence is there 2 weeks on, which is great. So we've had a nice atmosphere and environment around. Training's been very good this week. We've been able to get on the grass. We had a really good 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday. The calendar's all over the place. When we're playing like Monday, Friday, Monday, it messes our whole weeks up. So we're losing track of days. But then we'll train again today, Christmas Eve, and be ready to go Boxing Day. And then we've obviously got a 3-game week. So hopefully whatever comes good from that Plymouth game in terms of performance and form and confidence can carry on with us going into the Shrewsbury game on Monday.
Yeah, I guess, as well as that confidence, obviously you're looking for the win to take you into the Christmas period, and obviously a win and a goal or two, perhaps, Mark. At home, obviously, I think it's 7 in the league without scoring now. Have you analysed that, with the coaching staff and the players, or have you tried to take the pressure off of them by not focusing on it too much?
Yeah, I mean, some games you can certainly look at and just say, well, we haven't been creative enough or good enough. But in other games, we've had we came up against Bolton and the goalkeeper was in exceptional form. We came up against Plymouth and Michael Cooper's a very good goalkeeper, made good saves. We created some good chances. And we know that if we create chances like that, we've got players that will score goals. So really, I'm not too concerned by it, as long as we are hitting a level. I think we saw another level to our game against Plymouth. It's a level we haven't played at for a while, since probably the Wickham game. And there's been a few other decent performances along the way. But I think in the main, we know we've got players that can score. We know we've got players that are good players and can create chances and be attacking. When we do what we're supposed to and hit the levels that we did last week, we can be a good side. We're playing against one of the best teams defensively in the league at the weekend that give very little away and are in a brilliant run of form themselves. So they are one of the most stubborn defensive teams that there are in the league and defend as well as anybody. So that will make it a really challenging task in the Monday's game. But certainly we want to get as many points over this period as we can. And we look at some games that look really challenging, but sometimes the results can come when you least expect them to. And as I've said a number of times, I think we've got a good side that will only get better between now and the end of the season. And that's 25 games, which is a heck of a lot of points to play for. So if you walked into our training ground this week, you'd see a team that are really determined to do well, and you'd be in an environment that you probably wouldn't know some of the negative stats because of the way that people have worked and conducted themselves and carried themselves around the place. That's not saying we're not responsible for where we are. It's not saying that we're happy with where we are and the run of results that we've had, but we're fairly calm and confident that we can get the results that can turn us back into a good run of form.
Yeah, you talk about things defensively, and obviously that was a real plus coming out of the game against Plymouth. And I thought one element of that clean sheet effectively was Zeno Ebson-Rossi. He was impressive on the day. How are you assessing his development since he's arrived at the club, Mark?
Yeah, good. I think a lot of times with younger players, and particularly at centre-half, it can be a little bit up and down. I think when players first join the club and it's their first sort of real dip into somewhere that is home and somewhere that is first team football, it can take time to develop that consistency and understanding as we go through a period. But he's certainly had some games that have been really impressive, and he's hit a really good level. And he's shown a number of times the player that we think we've signed. And you know, when you sign somebody at that age, and similar to Jibril really, and you sign them for 3 years, you know that there's a commitment there that you're not going to see the best of them in the first year. You're going to see a real glimpse of what they can be, and that's quite exciting because you know that with time and experience and development time, they can go on to be really important players for us, and he's certainly one of those.
I mean, you've already touched on the Shrewsbury game to an extent, Mark, but obviously they're a side that don't score many, but they don't concede too many, and I think I'm right in saying there's only 2 games this season they've lost by more than 1 goal, so they're a stubborn outfit, as you've emphasised, and I guess like yourselves, they're looking to improve on what was a comfortable showing last season.
Yeah, and they've become a really well-established club at this level. They've got their eyes on the playoffs at the moment. They're close to that. I think it's 3 wins on the bounce. Very experienced manager that's had lots of success in his career, and they've signed some very, very good players over the summer as well. So I think they've got a strong starting team. They've got some key players out injured, so the depth of their squad at the moment probably suffering a little bit, but they've got some really strong individuals in the team and a real togetherness in the way in which they play and work. So we know it'll be a tough game. But they all are really at this level. You know, we don't get many easy ones. They just look they look tough in different ways, and this is one that will be limited space on the pitch. It will be a tight affair. We're going to have to defend as well as we have been, and we're going to have to be really ruthless and clinical with our attacking play to make the most of the chances we can create.
Looking at the Boxing Day game, obviously traditionally it's a fixture that, you know, there's a large crowd and an expectant crowd. How much emphasis is there from your respect, Mark, in terms of winning that game, given the following 2 fixtures, which are on paper very tough games? I know they're all tough games, but away at Derby and Sheffield Wednesday, how much emphasis on that Boxing Day game to get the point?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we went to Wycombe and won a game that no one would have given us a chance of winning, and we've done that a few times. So you can't write off the games that are coming because you just never know. You never know when you can get your results. But we'll certainly go into the Shrewsbury game looking to get a positive result. But you can disrespect a team or respect some teams too much. In the end, like when we hit our level, we can compete with anyone in this league. So that's the task for us over Christmas, is to try and show that and see what points return we can take out of the next. I probably, because of the way the fixtures fall, count Bristol Rovers in the Christmas fixtures a little bit because it's in the same week as Sheffield Wednesday. So over the next 4 games, can we get a handful of points? Because that will set us up really well for then pretty much Saturday to Saturday programme between now and the end of the season, and put us in a decent position to turn some good results in. So it's a game we want to win for sure. I imagine the home crowd will be very on par with the ones we've been getting this season, and the away following will be good for Boxing Day considering the distance they'll have to travel, but it won't be an away sellout in that sense. So if we're getting near 6,000 on the day, that'll be a brilliant turnout, and it'll be a game that, like any other, we'll want to try and put on a performance. I think people left after the Plymouth game thinking that was a really good performance, a really good level. They were really happy to see it, but they're starved of goals and wins at the minute, and we've got to try and give them one.
Yeah, just a final question from me, Mark. Obviously, yourself and Ben would have been working hard over the last few weeks with the January transfer window not too far away. Is there anything close to coming to fruition in terms of early business on that one?
I'd never want to say close, because you sometimes think things are close and then they just, for whatever reason, don't happen. So we're certainly looking to be active, looking to add in the squad in a couple of areas if we can. Ideally, we'd like to do things early, so if we could have one or two in place for the Bristol Rovers game, great. But that would be our aim, but I wouldn't want to say that we're close to doing that or that that's guaranteed at all. But I'd like to hope we can come out of January in a better position, one through injuries and two through additions, but time will really tell on that, and it will probably be a very fluid month where things chop and change throughout the month. And every transfer is sometimes a bit conditional on something happening elsewhere, so we just have to play a bit of a waiting game and see where we get. But our intention is to come out of the month in a better position.
Okay, thanks, Mark. That's all from me.
Thanks.
Hi, Mark. On Shrewsbury, they're obviously 11th in the table at the moment. How impressive a season do you think they're having?
I think they're having a good season, but it's not surprised for me. I thought they recruited brilliantly in the summer, and we'd have tipped them to be a top half team for sure. And an outside better pushing into those playoff positions. I think they're just displaying that at the moment, and they've overcome a few injuries in order to do that. They've made quite a few changes, so it's taken them time to find their rhythm. But I absolutely wouldn't be surprised to see them consistently put runs of results together. They're a very, very hard team to beat. They can make themselves difficult to beat against anybody and carry a threat. Very strong set play team and restart team as well. So it'll be a tough game for us, and I do think that they're in a position where they can probably fancy themselves against anyone, certainly off the back of the results that they've been having. But like us, they've had a long break between games, 15, 16 days I think it'll end up being, and it'll be a really good opportunity for us to show the work we've been doing this week, and we want to go and put in a top performance, so that's our aim.
Did you consider getting the players in on Christmas Day to train?
Absolutely not, no. I don't really believe in that, asking people to travel a couple of hours to do a very, very short session. Any bits of work we can do Christmas Eve, the day before. You know, sometimes we'll go away on a Saturday over a long, long journey and not train on the Friday. So it's not alien to us to not train the day before a game. Boys look after themselves brilliantly these days, so you've got no concerns with this group about trusting them on Christmas Day. And nothing matters more than spending time with family, and any days you do get off in football, they're often not at the same time as anybody else, so it's pretty much most bank holidays you are playing, so it's a one day in a year where people can actually be normal, and I hope they really enjoy the day and are ready to come in on Monday full of energy and enthusiasm to get us the result and performance we need. And
just on the injury front, is everyone else available other than the ones that you've mentioned?
Yeah, we're as we were at the moment, so hopefully that remains the same.
That's great, thank you.
Mark, just quickly, it's worth touching on the success the under-18s are having in the FA Youth Club and what that means for the club as you move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a competition we've done fairly well in. I think they did really well last year. It was a young team in the tournament last year, so it puts a pressure on them, an expectation this year that playing in it again, they can do well. Certainly midweek against Colchester, we're playing against a team a category higher than us, and it was a other than a shaky start to the game, a really convincing performance and an excellent result. So we look forward to the next round, Chelsea or Bradford at home. But we've always known the work that goes on in our academy, and Dom Knighton's taken that on from Tom Pell, but a number of staff in the academy, Jimmy with the youth team and all the other support staff with him, puts them in a really good position. So it was a really good game. It was a tournament I know well and players love playing in. So the more exposure they get to those big occasions, the better, because then that just aids and helps their development. And we've got boys that are in that team that are out on loan playing senior football as well, which is a nice combination to their development programme. That's still a long, long way from playing in our team and helping us win games in League One. And those boys understand that, because there's plenty of jumps to try and make until then. But having young players that are talented, that you see potential for to develop into first team players is the whole point of having an academy. So we're certainly pleased with the progress that they're making, albeit they might be a few years away from being really instrumental in our team, but they're in a good path and in a good programme, which is important.